Tonight on CBC Vancouver News.
We're hopeful that we can skate through this.
Growing urgency as tinder dry conditions spark new wildfires in BC. Also,
many police cars, 4 ambulance, 2 fire truck.
2 Vancouver police officers stabbed on the downtown east side. And loosened border restrictions. Who benefits and why a wider reopening is still unclear.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. There's a growing sense of urgency tonight as new wildfires spark in this province, but relief has started to arrive. Crews from other provinces are here to help. Let's go to the CBC's Katie Nicholson, who is in Lytton tonight, where much of the town burned to the ground last week.
Yeah, Anita, so much uncertainty still for the people of Lytton, who really eagerly want to be able to get past that RCMP barrier and really survey the damage and see what, if anything, they have left. Of course, they can't do that right now, but we are getting a glimpse now from some of the first crews to go in there and repair infrastructure as to what it looks like. Cars like charred husks, lampposts downed in the ash of what used to be a street. The Lytton fire burned so hot, it liquefied parts of these parked vehicles. These apocalyptic images captured by one of the first crews to witness the aftermath.
It's pretty sad. It's pretty leveled. Like it's unbelievable that the level of destruction. Like there are brick buildings that we thought would be, still a brick building, but they're just completely leveled.
All this destruction and still no answers about what sparked this fire. Although the province's wildfire service said this last night.
So the specific cause of the Lytton Creek wildfire remains under investigation by both the RCMP as well as our fire origin and cause investigators. It is suspected to be human caused, but that specific cause remains to be determined.
Human cause could be anything from a campfire to a dropped cigarette butt. There has been widespread speculation. Some witnesses say they saw a burning train further down the line earlier that day.
Big plume of smoke. I mean, it was pretty intense right away, right? And it was just hot and fast. And, I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be crazy. And it was quite windy too, right? Everything was blowing. So, and what was it? That was the hottest day recorded in Lytton.
Jade Baxter has lived here for 25 years. She strongly suspects a train ignited the fire.
The way I've seen fires start by the rail as someone who's lived here for 25 years.
Others believe there are too many variables to say for sure, but it's plausible.
Some people saying maybe they shouldn't run trains during extremely dry times, but extremely dry times like now is 3 months. So you can't stop commerce for 3 months.
CN says it's cooperating fully with the investigation and wants to offer support to the people of Lytton. The Transportation Safety Board isn't involved, but if a rail company files an occurrence report, that could change. Regardless of what happened, people want answers.
I know that the truth is going to come out.
For now, that job falls to the province and the RCMP. Some good news for some of the people of Lytton who were really anxiously wanting to get in. There is a bus being organized so that they can actually drive into the village and view some of the damage firsthand. Of course, it has to be safe to do that. It's pretty dangerous there still, as you saw in the photos, power lines down and light standards. But it is hoped that people will be able to go as a group and survey the damage for themselves. Anita?
Thanks, Katie. Lytton is not the only community we're watching tonight. Around 200 fires are burning province-wide. And as Susanna De Silva explains, more risks still lie ahead.
All many can do is nervously wait and watch. These pictures show smoke from the Deca Lake fire, where crews had been waiting for the right conditions to deliberately burn some of the forest fuel.
Yesterday, we were about to start the planned ignition, but due to winds, made the decision to hold off. And so today we had an opportunity.
Conditions continue to be hot and dry. About a dozen of the fires burning now are considered especially threatening.
new starts we've seen, especially a surge in the past few days, continue to challenge our initial attack success due to their ease of spread.
North of Lillooet, the McKay fire is still burning out of control. Evacuation orders and alerts have been issued for some nearby communities. So far, Lillooet is safe, but Lytton was a warning.
When we saw what happened to our fellow community, the amount of angst, the amount of shock, and the amount of disbelief, and it still remains partly today, and we have to overcome that and begin to look after ourselves.
Meanwhile, other small communities like Spence's Bridge are offering support however they can. Here, it's with food for firefighters.
These ladies have come together. There's a band of about 8 of them, and they were on a no moment's notice. We gathered, had a small meeting with BC Wildfire and the powers that be, and they asked if we could put a team together to serve them breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 80 people.
This year's fire season is especially bad already. On average, less than 27,000 hectares of land is burnt by July. This year, it's already triple that. And that number keeps growing. This afternoon, a fire sparked 8 kilometers away from Osoyoos. Susanna Da Silva, CBC News, Vancouver.
And some shocking numbers tonight. More than 1 billion seashore animals may have cooked to death in BC's record-breaking heat wave, according to a UBC researcher. Marine biologists recorded shoreline temperatures above 50 degrees Celsius, leading to the deaths of mussels, clams, and starfish. Water quality is expected to be impacted because these animals help filter seawater. Mussel beds can regenerate in a year or two, but the researcher says returning heat waves leave their future uncertain. And Johanna Wagstaff is off this week. Amy Bell is in. Amy, are we seeing conditions improve at all for those fighting the wildfires?
Not exactly. Unfortunately, we did have a few areas where, say, around Kamloops, they had some shower activity up near 100 Mile. There were some showers and hail, but I want you to take a look at what's been happening. Oh, sorry, I already passed by it, but what we saw today was an intense setup with thunder and lightning over the southeast corner of the province, and we do still have these warnings up. So extreme thunderstorm, severe thunderstorm watch, which we actually rarely have in BC. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that for tonight for the east Kootenays and the north and south Thompson, also around Shuswap. So again, we could see hail, intense rain at times, and lightning. And that, of course, coupled with the dry conditions and intense heat that we're still seeing all around the province. Unfortunately, not the greatest setup. So we'll definitely have to keep an eye on things over the next 24 hours or so.
All right. Thanks, Amy.
You're welcome.
A group of residential school survivors is calling for an end to the recent arson attacks on churches, saying they're triggering painful memories.
What it is evil. And so, back off from burning down those churches, heal. Let's begin this healing process, be the medicine.
The group says destroying places of worship is not in their culture. Several churches in Alberta and BC have been damaged or destroyed after the discovery of unmarked graves at former residential schools. 3 Vancouver police officers have been sent to hospital, 2 of them for being stabbed this morning. They were responding to reports that a young child was being forcibly confined. Michelle Gassoub joins us now from VPD headquarters. Michelle, what do we know about the condition of the officers?
Anita, at this point, we know that all the officers are expected to make a full recovery. 2 of them received stab wounds. 1 of them was injured on his hand. We don't know exactly how. Now, it all happened around 10 a.m. this morning. The officers were at an apartment building at Kiefer and Gore in Vancouver's Strathcona neighborhood. And as you just said, they had received a report that a 2-year-old child was being forcibly confined.
We are so thankful that both of the members are in stable condition. But a serious incident like this not only shakes up members in our department, but the policing community as a whole.
Now, the suspect is a 59-year-old man. He is also in hospital tonight after a taser was used on him. We have heard that the person who called 911 was related to the child. We don't know exactly the relationship between the suspect and the child. What we are hearing tonight at this point from a neighbor who lives right across from that building is that he saw a lot of commotion in the area.
We heard very song about the police cars, and I got worried what happened. I come here, I saw many police cars, 4 ambulance, 2 fire truck, and they closed this way. They closed the entrance from the Goran Kufer. I love this neighborhood, but it's not safe neighborhood. We feel very unsafe.
Now, VPD Chief Adam Palmer has also released a statement. He says, "I couldn't be prouder of the heroic and quick-thinking actions of our brave VPD officers. This was a dangerous and dynamic call where the immediate safety of an innocent toddler was at risk. Our officers made a split-second decision and put themselves in harm's way to rescue the child." Now, the suspect is in hospital tonight in police custody. There are no charges against him at this time, but it's still very early in this investigation. Very scary situation for everyone involved. Anita?
Indeed. Michelle Gazoub at VPD headquarters tonight. Thanks, Michelle. A homicide investigation is underway tonight after a man's body was discovered in an Abbotsford parking lot near an elementary school. Police were called around 5 this morning to the Clearbrook Park parking lot off of Clinton Avenue. They say foul play is suspected, but the man's identity and cause of death are unknown at this time. A pioneer in BC's South Asian community has died. Asa Johal was a prominent philanthropist and a titan in this province's forest industry. Johal was the founder of Terminal Forest Products. He started working in the industry when he was just 14 years old. The Sikh immigrant eventually established BC's largest independent lumber company and received the Order of Canada and the Order of BC. Johal donated millions to public institutions over the years and was a leader in the Indo-Canadian community. He was 98. Well, what's in a name? Turns out when it comes to schools, a lot of controversial historical figures. The efforts to rename next. Thank you for staying with us during our commercial-free live stream. Nova Scotia's only zipline park now has a course designed for wheelchair users. On Tree Fun, an adventure park near Windsor, opened the new course about a month ago. And as we hear from the CBC's Paul Palmeter, it's getting great reviews.
Only been usable by people who can use their arms and legs, but the owner of the park has always had another vision.
When I started here 10 years ago, my dream was always to create a wheelchair accessible course, and last year and this year we completed the course actually.
Weigelt's vision is now a reality and the course is open. After months of staff testing the course with the wheelchair they purchased, it was finally deemed ready to go on June 1st. It has numerous extra safety measures in place, including platforms that are 3 times larger than regular ones. 5 years ago, Erin Sari was injured diving into a swimming pool. At first, she wasn't completely comfortable with the idea of trying to overcome some of the obstacles laid out on the course.
I actually really enjoyed that part of it, which I didn't think I was going to, because there's a lot of obstacles in this world already for wheelchair users, but they made it fun. And then at the end with the zip line, that was the best part, obviously.
Sari gave the new course a try last week. Despite being a little apprehensive at first, she said it was an excellent experience that she plans to do again.
It wasn't nerve-wracking at all. It was really fun. My family was there to see me do it, and it just gave me a little bit of an adrenaline rush that I haven't felt in a really long time.
Feedback from wheelchair users will be important as the course gets tweaked. A 300-meter-long new zip line will be added for all users this fall.
The person then in the wheelchair actually can fly like a bird and fly to the sky and enjoy that ride.
That's a pretty long one.
That's a pretty long one, yeah. That will be the longest one in the park.
Paul Palmeter, CBC News, Martok.
Very cool. And we will be back in a few moments with more local and national news.
I'm Amy Bell. Here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox.
Vancouver Queer Film Festival is back. Enjoy the best in independent queer cinema along with workshops, artist panels, Q&As, and more. Learn more at queerfilmfestival.ca. And never miss a special programming series or contest. Subscribe to CBC Vancouver's e-newsletter at cbc.ca/Vancouver Inbox and keep connected with us.
36% of all eligible British Columbians are now fully vaccinated, and there have been 87 new COVID-19 cases since Friday. 85 people are in hospital, 22 in intensive care. Sadly, there have been 3 new deaths in the last 72 hours. And after months of tight restrictions, Canada is relaxing some COVID-19 travel-related measures at the border. Canadians and permanent residents who are fully vaccinated won't have to quarantine when returning to Canada. And as Jacqueline Hansen explains, the changes come with a catch.
The best part about traveling abroad this summer may just be coming home and not having to quarantine.
You can go freely if you are vaccinated, so it's good.
Eligible travelers include Canadians, permanent residents, and international students who are fully vaccinated. They have to upload proof to the updated ArriveCan app, specifically version 2.19.9. Unvaccinated kids don't get a free pass.
It was crazily confusing, but we understand.
Katarina Cole is fully vaccinated, but her Canadian children aren't. So they've rented a house with a backyard to wait out the 14 days. She can come and go, but the kids can't.
We're lucky enough to be able to do that, so we don't have to crowd with anybody.
Travelers also have to have received a vaccine approved in Canada. Chandan Dash got 2 doses of Covaxin in India while they're on a family emergency.
If Canada would have recognized our vaccination status, yeah, it would be like a good thing for us.
Canadian Alex Su Chung works in Trinidad and Tobago, where the first vaccine available to him and his wife was Sinopharm.
It almost feels as though that we're paying for that decision in order to come home, because we still have to go through that entire quarantine.
The government says the list of accepted vaccines may expand in the future as evidence becomes available. Who is allowed into Canada may also expand soon. At this point, tourists still aren't welcome.
We will proceed in a responsible, step-by-step fashion at reopening and allowing larger numbers of people to come to Canada.
But Canadians are eager to leave. Demand for international flights this fall and winter is taking off.
Just make sure that you know what your cancellation and change options are, because you don't want to be caught out.
In case any new rules come with a catch and a cost that travelers still have to bear. Jacqueline Hansen, CBC News, Toronto.
After low ridership throughout COVID, TransLink is encouraging people to get on board this summer with tourism discounts and promotional buses.
We're here to remind customers that we want to encourage them to get back on the bus, to get back on our transit system, and to use transit to get around and to explore the region. As we're seeing the province ease restrictions, we want people to get back to those activities and to use transit to get there.
But you can't ride TransLink's new showy Reconnect bus. It will only be on display, parked at various BC fairs and festivals this season. There, people can learn about how to travel to BC attractions and COVID-19 safety measures. TransLink is also providing customers a promo code for a 25% discount on hundreds of local tours and destinations. Well, many schools across British Columbia are named after colonial figures with problematic histories. And now campaigns are driving districts to re-examine and alter these namesakes. Our Justin McElroy looks into the debate surrounding controversial school names and how they could possibly be changed.
From Atlin to Zabalos, there are 1,386 school names in this province. Most are named for communities, neighborhoods, or local geographic markers. But when you crunch the numbers, 358 of them are explicitly named for people, 94% of whom are white, 79% of whom are men, and some of whom have dark histories.
He ran concentration camps. It's a pretty black and white kind of a thing.
Ian Rowe is the PAC chair at Lord Roberts Elementary, a school in Vancouver's West End. A British field marshal, Roberts did run concentration camps in the Boer War. Rowe said a survey of parents showed 90% in favor of a name change.
Lord Roberts has an amazing community. It's an amazing school. We've got great principal, teachers, parents, the whole bit. People who've been coming here for years have done great work. And that has nothing to do with what it's called. So it's helping people to separate the name of the thing with the place.
There are controversial school names across BC. In Creston, Prince Charles Elementary had its name changed just weeks ago. But these debates center around Vancouver. Yes, some schools here are named for neighborhoods or famous British Columbians, but more are named for lords and queens and British prime ministers. 26 named for prominent Brits in total, compared to 13 in the rest of the province combined. The Vancouver School Board is changing the names of schools. Capay Elementary was named for a Prince Edward Island tobacco merchant just a few years ago before its name was changed. But the question for some is whether they're moving fast enough.
I have heard feedback that it's a very slow process and quite closed in that it isn't really about community or public engagement.
Jennifer Reddy is a school board trustee who helped approve the future name changes of Begbie and Lloyd George elementary schools earlier this year as part of the board's pilot program. But she argues renaming shouldn't be done on a piecemeal basis.
Folks are eager. This is a real time of change. And if we don't show the leadership to actually review the names wholesale, I feel like we're missing an opportunity to engage a wider public dialogue.
But even if you believe schools should have their name changed, the question becomes, what's the new name? Rowe believes it should be the same convention used in cities like Burnaby or Victoria.
They're just like the names of the neighborhoods, which honestly was useful as a person to know where to go for like the soccer game or the fundraiser or whatever. And you come here and it's all like Lord so-and-so or Queen this or Sir whatever. And it's super bizarre.
That's the debate at Lord Roberts, but similar ones are happening all across British Columbia, meaning the only thing certain about BC school names is that they'll be debated long into the future. Justin McElroy, CBC News, Vancouver.
Here's a look at the city of Kamloops. The skies there much clearer today than they were yesterday, and not quite as hot as it has been either. Amy Bell has the full forecast next.
The National with Nancy Wilson and Suhana Marchand.
Good evening. The handover is done. The ceremonies and celebrations over. A century and a half of British rule in Hong Kong is simply history tonight. China is in charge now. It's already Tuesday in Hong Kong, the first dawn of a new era. A very rainy dawn. In spite of the terrible weather, Hong Kong's new flag and the Chinese flag were raised over all of Hong Kong's government buildings. A day of firsts then in Hong Kong, but for that it also of course had to be a day of lasts. And that's what this was, Hong Kong's last day as a British colony. Our coverage begins with our Asia correspondent Raymond St-Pierre on the handover.
On this last day of colonial rule, British troops bade farewell to Hong Kong. 10,000 guests braved the tropical downpour to watch them parade and salute the end of 156 years of British history. Speaking for the last time before leaving the colony, Governor Chris Patten expressed his faith in the people of this dynamic territory.
Now, Hong Kong people are to run Hong Kong. That is the promise, and that is the unshakable destiny.
The Hong Kong night sky then lit up in an array of colors as spectacular fireworks illuminated Victoria Harbour. Prince Charles, representing the Queen, then led the British delegation to the Hong Kong Convention Centre where the handover ceremony took place. Jiang Zemin, the first Chinese president ever to set foot in Hong Kong, headed the Chinese delegation. A British and a Chinese guard of honor walked on stage to signal the start of the transition to Chinese rule. Prince Charles promised Britain would not abandon Hong Kong.
We shall not forget you, and we shall watch with the closest interest as you embark on this new era of your remarkable history.
Seconds before midnight, the British flag was lowered to the strains of God Save the Queen. The Chinese Army Band then played the Chinese national anthem to signal the moment that Hong Kong became a special administrative region of China. President Jiang Zemin welcomed back the citizens of Hong Kong to the motherland, promising to implement the policy of one country, two systems to protect its autonomy.
Time now for a look at the forecast with Amy Bell. And Amy, we just saw before commercial that the smoke has kind of come down in Kamloops. It was really bad yesterday.
It has. We've seen a bit of a breeze coming through there. So we've seen the air quality improving a bit around Kamloops. Same story around Kelowna. So that is good news, though there is still plenty of smoke impacting much of the province today. Looking at more sunshine and warm temperatures tomorrow. In fact, warmer than it was today. A bit of an exception over on the island in Tofino area. We'll be dealing with some showers and just a high of 19, but up at 30 degrees in Whistler Village, 25 in Victoria, and 27 close to 30 as you make your way further out into the Fraser Valley. We are still going to keep an eye around this very active weather pattern that we're seeing in the southeast corner of the province, so we've still got a risk of some thunderstorms overnight and again tomorrow, especially around Cranbrook, and further up north we're still going to see those hot temperatures persisting. 28 degrees in Dease Lake, Williams Lake looking at 26 and 28 for Prince George, so we're not seeing that big cool down, I would say, at least till the end of the week across the province, where we're still dealing with very extreme heat. Taking a look at our 5-day forecast, definitely out of the heat dome, but we're not out of the heat. Tomorrow we'll see it around 24 if you're down near the water, 27 inland, and then overnight we'll see that bigger difference when it just chills down to about 15, which is much more comfortable. Wednesday a little bit cooler with a high of 23. You catch your breath a bit on Thursday. We're going to cloud over, cool down to about 22 degrees, but then we get right back into the sunshine. It really starts to ramp up as we head towards the weekend, and we'll see those temperatures close to 30 degrees inland for Saturday and Sunday, and it's going to be quite some time before we see any significant precipitation coming our way.
Okay, thanks so much, Amy.
You're welcome.
And that's it for our show tonight. You can always find it online, cbc.ca/BC. Our next local news is after the National at 11 o'clock with Tanya Fletcher. Good night.